The Masada Slim, ORP, let's check it out. IWI is based out of Israel. They have produced some of the most legendary firearms in the world, including the Uzi, the Galil, all the Tavors, the Desert Eagle, the Baby Eagle, and the Masada. The Masada came in as their first striker fire pistol. Excellent, about the size of a Glock 19, and yet there's a lot of great features about the Masada that put it above a lot of the striker fire pistols on the market. And that's no surprise, because IWI produces firearms for the Israeli military. Now, with all the Micro 9s that have hit the market, and that's a double stack 9mm magazine that is subcompact, IWI has introduced the Masada S ORP, or the Masada Slim. It's a very thin handgun, and yet it holds 13+1 in the magazine. About the size of a SIG P365 XL, little smaller, but it's not one of the tiny P365 sizes. It's just a little bit larger, but yet it gives you a full grip when you're firing it. And we're going to take a good look at all the specs and the details, but I'm pretty excited, and I tell you what, after the range, I'm very excited. And we really appreciate IWI USA for sending the Masada S ORP for this review. Masada stands for fortress in Hebrew, and really Masada comes from a fort that Herod built on top of a plateau, and it was taken over by Jewish zealots back when they were occupied by the Roman army. The Roman army surrounded the fort, and over 900 men committed suicide instead of being taken captive. It's a very important saying for the Jews as far as what they've been through. So this is just the baby of the standard Masada. Now let's go ahead and drop our 13+1 magazine. Check the chamber, and it's empty. Now you get 2 magazines, and they're good quality, probably made by Metgar, and they have witness holes at the back that go to 13. Now this is a slim, more compact version of the standard Masada, which this has just been one of those, to me, one of the most underrated striker fire pistols on the market. And again, with the heritage of IWI, I mean, these are excellent pistols. But this is 17+1 in the magazine, and then we go down to 13+1. But you're going to notice how thin it is. I mean, it is extremely thin compared to the standard Masada, which is a typical striker fire pistol as far as in size. And so you're going to get that concealed carry Micro 9, and this is IWI's offering. The full-size Masada is really just an excellent gun in itself. But this does come in 9mm. It is striker fired. It has a 3.4-inch barrel, which is stainless, but it's cold hammer forged. One thing I love, though, is the flat face trigger. We'll look a little bit closer at that in a minute, but this is a really nice trigger. It is optics ready, which stands for the ORP, for optics ready pistol. This is for the RMS shield cut, which will fit your Holosun EPS carry or your SIG Romeo 2, the Holosun 507K. I mean, it fits a number of different optics, and it's that thin design. But you have a really nice metal cover plate. And those optics will attach directly to the slide, which gets it fairly low. And we have really nice sights, which are serrated on the back. They're black. And then we have a U-notch. And then we have a white outline at the front, and this is dovetailed. And this will fit any of your standard Masada sights. The polymer frame is a glass-filled nylon, which makes it really finely finished. It's one of the things about these glass-filled nylon. I mean, it gives it a real smooth type finish, but you do have the laser etch texturing that goes all along the sides, around the back strap and the front strap. And so it gives it a real good grip, and really these are the two places that you're holding on to, and you'll notice also that it gives you a fairly full-size grip. Now my hand is medium size, so if you have really large hands, you know, it could hang off a little bit at the end. And it is undercut right here, and it does have a nice enlarged trigger guard for gloved hands. The magazine release has a really nice design to it. It is metal, and it ejects those magazines out really nice. And you'll notice that the magazines actually fit into this little angle here. And we do have a lip on the magazine in case you need to strip that mag if you have any kind of malfunction. It does have front and rear cocking serrations, and they're very well done. Actually added more to the front than even the Masada. And then it actually goes down into the frame where it just kind of shows that same design through it. Masada 9S for Slim. We have our slide stop, and we have our takedown lever. And it's not ambidextrous like on the Masada. The regular Masada has both magazine release and slide stops on the other side. So this really helps, though, it make it really thin. And if you'll notice how much thinner it is from the top, and some of that has to do with the slide stops that stick out just a little bit. Doesn't take away from this pistol, but it really makes the S model very thin. There are no Picatinny rails on the front. Which I think that would have been nice. I mean, they do have those same lines that fit your serrations all the way up. The slide has an anodized finish on it, but it is really well done, very smooth, same as the standard Masada. And the slide is milled from one piece of bar stock. So it's a very solid, well-finished pistol all the way around. And that's the same as the standard Masada. Now, one thing that I really like about the Masada is that it does have the stainless steel modular chassis. We'll look at that when we break the pistol down for disassembly. You can see the serial number coming through. It is a stainless steel piece that fits in here. Now, what that does is it allows you to remove the chassis and to really keep it clean, but also it is the gun. And so you can change out your grip shell if you want a different color, if they come out with a different size. You know, you can just change that out, or you can change the slide out, and you don't have to go through all the paperwork that you would for buying a new pistol. To me, that's one of the advantages of these type pistols, especially in states that aren't so free. And speaking of which, this does come in a version with 10-round magazines. Now here we have the SIG P365, and this holds 10+1, but it's definitely a smaller pistol. Not too much, about 3/4 of an inch here at the slide. And the grip is a little bit longer, but you're getting 13 rounds with the Masada. You can get additions to your SIG P365, but it's a very small pistol and definitely in that micro 9 size. But yet it's just a little bit larger than kind of the benchmark for really small micro 9s. Now all these pistols I'm going to show have been safety checked. But really it compares very close to the P365 XL. And this is pretty much the same silhouette. If you put beaver tail to beaver tail, the P365 comes out just a little bit more. But as far as the slide length, it's pretty much the same. I would say that the Masada is a little bit thicker than your SIG P365 XL. And then here at the bottom, the tip of the XL comes down to the same place that the Masada does. But you're getting 12 rounds with the P365. You're getting 13 rounds with the Masada. And then the Springfield Armory Hellcat Pro. Now this is a 15+1. It's really a full-size pistol in silhouette, and yet it's really thin. And then we have the Hex Optic Wasp here mounted. Now one of the things about this is that it's honestly just a little bit shorter. The grip is just a touch longer, but you are getting 2 additional rounds with the Springfield. And so this really compares to that intermediate size for the micro 9s, and not necessarily for the tiny micro 9s. And because of that, the recoil mitigation on the Masada is a lot better. I mean, it's much easier to control. I mean, I'm a big fan of the P365. I carry it often. But this gives you a better feeling shooting gun. One of the things about the small little micro 9s is you do suffer some with just that compact size. Yes, they're shootable. Yes, they're a great concealed carry. But with some of these larger options, you're getting more, again, of that full-size pistol feel. It gives you better control. It gives you better recoil management. And the weight on the Masada Slim, 1 pound, 6.8 ounces. Weight on the SIG P365 XL, 1 pound, 4.2 ounces. And I think that really has to do a lot with the width of the slide compared to the Masada. Even though it's thin, that P365 is super thin. Now let's drop the magazine, check the chamber. We're going to look at the trigger pull. And notice that the trigger has unusual styling on it, and it does have the trigger safety. And so this will keep you from firing this inadvertently. If you hit it anywhere, it'll block it. But once you get a full finger on the trigger, it allows it to move. Now with this trigger, you have some take up right here, and then we have a little bit of resistance and a nice break. It's a very crisp break. It's audible. It's not all that tactile, but you can feel it. One of the things I like about that is when I'm shooting, especially for accuracy, and I'm riding the reset, sometimes the reset can actually distract you. I mean, it pops back and you get ready to take that second shot. With this, I found that it was a little easier to get those second shots, especially again during accuracy. Now we're going to check for reset right there. Super, super fast reset. We'll check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 4 pounds, 4.5 ounces. 4 pounds, 1.1 ounce. IWI states that this is a 5.5 to 7 pound trigger pull, but it's really a very nice trigger at 4.5 pounds. We really appreciate Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammunition, all made in the USA. One of the largest suppliers of ammunition in the country. And we also appreciate Lula Loaders for making these mag loads easy. Now some of the things I noticed, the magazine's super easy to insert. It's not beveled, but of course the mag kind of comes to a taper, but you don't even have to look at it. I mean, it just enters in. Slide serrations, really aggressive and easy for press checks. The grip, I really like. It's kind of a muted laser texturing. Feels really good. It almost feels like a glove. I mean, it just naturally fits in your hand, and it fits like a full-size grip. My hands are medium. If your hands are large, it's going to make a difference. The sights are great. That white dot with the black contrast, it's real easy to pick up, and it's bright. But one of the things I think I like the best about this pistol is this trigger. Trigger is fantastic. The reset is, it's tactile and it's audible, but it's not distracting. And sometimes, especially when I'm shooting accuracy and I'm shooting to reset, I feel like once I hit the reset, I got to pull the trigger. And this was just more natural. It's just less intrusive when you're really trying to get good aim. So overall, very thin. Of course, throwing an optic on here would be great. We've already put about 400 rounds through it so far. No malfunctions, just works. About the size of a P365, so it's not a tiny micro, but yet it's a very carryable micro 9. And yet it shoots like a full-size gun. I think that makes a big difference. Very low muzzle flip. I mean, it just gives you enough to where you have a good purchase on it. The recoil mitigation is really good on it. I'll tell you, a lot of micro 9s out there, and there's a lot of choices, and that's great. But I'm really liking this over a lot of the different ones. Time will tell. I've been carrying the P365 for a good while, the XL. May have to switch. May have to put this in my rotation. Love Masadas anyway, but this really makes a great concealed carry option. Now when it comes to disassembly, we're going to drop our magazine, check the chamber. It's a little different than a lot of your striker fire pistols. We're going to bring it back and lock the slide back. Right here, you'll notice this little bar right here. You want to move it forward. So just push it forward and it reveals the pin right here in the back. And you want to note the orientation of that pin. Now we're going to bring it down and you'll notice this little cutout. It's not that far out. And then you can take and just pull that pin right out. We're going to set it aside and then you can just pull off your slide. We have a dual captive recoil spring, and man, it really mitigates the recoil. I mean, this is a great system. And then we have our barrel. Again, cold hammer forged and 3.4 inch. Inside the slide, I mean, it's definitely dirty. We shot this a lot. I mean, in fact, I couldn't quit shooting it. I really enjoyed it. If I'd have had more ammo, I'd have shot more. But you can see, just very nice striker fire system. Really well done inside. Here we have the chassis system all the way around. You've got rails that run all along the front side. Typically you'll have a little short rail here and a short rail at the back. This gives you a lot of surface with slide to frame mating, and I really like that. So it's definitely a little bit different. Now we've already removed our locking pin. Now to remove the chassis, it doesn't have to be done every time that you disassemble or clean. But right here is a pin at the back. We're going to take a punch and we're just going to remove that pin. And then there's a pin right here up front. And then we just pull the chassis right out. I mean, this is what is considered the firearm. Everything else, the grip shell, the slide, those are not regulated. And so you can just see and clean all of these parts really easily instead of going down into the frame of the pistol. And then to reinsert the chassis is really simple, actually. Just make sure the trigger guard is open to the trigger, and then you just push it down. And then we just reinstall our pins. Pins go in fairly easily. I don't know that I actually even need a hammer for that. Yeah. And now to reassemble the pistol, we're going to take our barrel in reverse order. Then we'll take our recoil spring and guide rod. And then just pull it back over your slide. Now you want to line up this little part of the slide, and you want to make sure that the little crescent is facing down, and so the cut is up. And then we're going to insert the pin. Now this can be a little tricky because you've got to get the other side of the chassis to be able to push it in. Because if you don't, it's going to lock it. But now you can see we've got clearance for the button, and we've got it in there. And we're going to want to rack your slide to push over this little safety button. This holds in the bolt. And then release your slide. So while you are taking out a part, which I'm not a big fan of, I like to keep everything retained on the pistol, that is the way you clean it. Manufacturer suggested retail price is $450. Market price typically will run you less. As far as pros and cons go, big pro is that it's made by IWI. I mean, they are known for making really high quality firearms. And this is no exception. I mean, beautiful finish. I love the glass-filled nylon frame to it. And, you know, it is optics ready, flat face trigger, 13+1. Now, again, it is a little bit larger than, say, your P365, but it really falls in line with the P365 XL or the Hellcat Pro. So it's in that in-between intermediate size, which makes it really comfortable to carry, and yet it gives you a full-size frame. Recoil on this was very mild. You can see from the shooting, I mean, it was a very flat shooting gun. And it's one of the things I've really been leaning more into is guns that are capable rather than just necessarily just concealable. And guys, I carry every day, so you know, this size to me is just an excellent size. Of course, the RMS Shield footprint, so there's a number of different optics you can put on here, or you can just leave it as it is. Now, a few downsides: it doesn't have any kind of accessory rail. But to be honest with you, most of the Micro 9s are not with an accessory rail. So there are some that have proprietary rails like the P365, and there's some out there, but you know, for a gun this small, it's not necessarily a deal breaker. The chassis system is a big plus, and if I want to change this grip out to pink, I can do that if they decide to introduce that. But different colors, it's one of the same things you can do with the standard Masada and other pistols that are out there, but it really helps with states that have to go through hoops to get any extra or buy a new firearm. So I really like that. They haven't come out yet with any kind of magazine extension, but that's probably in the works. One other con I would say is pulling out the pin for takedown makes it a little bit difficult, and I don't like having a pin separated in case I lose it. But really overall, I mean, while it's a little different, it's not that difficult to get back together once you get the hang of it. Guys, if you're looking for a Micro 9 and the P365 or the Hellcat are just a little bit too small, you know, you're kind of losing your finger on that grip, this is still a very small handgun, and yet it gives you 13+1. Full-size grip on the pistol. The recoil on this is a lot less snappy than a lot of the other Micro 9s that are out on the market. And you have IWI standing behind it, which is a legendary company. This has been a really great experience for me, and to be honest with you, I'm going to be finding a spot for this in my concealed carry rotation. I've been carrying the P365. I like the way this feels a lot better. I know that may be sacrilege, but it is what it is. And again, we appreciate IWI for sending the Masada S ORP for this review. It's been a great experience. Now, we really appreciate Sportsman's Guide for being one of our sponsors. And they give a $20 off every $100 or more purchase using Sootch, no 00. And they have all kind of outdoor related, camping, hiking, you name it, they've got it. But one thing that I use them probably the most for is their military surplus from around the world. And if you join their buyers club, you get a better price and you get free shipping on most items. So check out Sportsman's Guide. It's a great resource. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Getting ready to kill them. So, and then during the German Russian, and it's a very important date to Israel. Okay, it's a date. It's not a freaking date. What kind of date is that? That's not a good girlfriend. The Roman army. That's not. Yeah, no, that's not it either. Okay, but that is disputed, and so blah 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 blah. Hey, hit the range shooting.